Yeah, how's it going? I'm doing great. We missed you last night for dinner. Harm was there too. Do you all know each other? She's with AWS.
Sorry. How are you?
Yeah.
And you work with, I'm sorry,
Qatar.
Delta. So I work with Alliance World.
Okay. She's been working like with Ingrid and Honey and so on. Okay. And Kelsey. Yeah, that's right. And Josh on that.
Josh, I get actually.
That's good. We'll be done in just a second. Yeah, okay. I will check it out. Perfect. So like maybe if you have like a couple of examples, like or like maybe some people will have like like the idea like saying we've identified this
I know this is something we want to write some amount of
So I'll send it to you later. It's section 25 to 12:30 right here. So it's kind of long, but I'm guessing.
probably just send the session.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have those two questions, kind of phrase it out.
I will do so. Okay. Yeah, of course. No, thank you. I think it's a good opportunity for us to.
I will go out.
Definitely in the wrong place.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Yeah.
How do I pronounce your last name properly?
Boite.
Boite.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Oh, please, thank you.
I've run out of cards,
Yeah.
but we'll be on email circulation. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do I need to flip the charts? No, I don't need. Don't need. Don't need. Okay. Where is Austin now?
Hello.
I'm Austin.
I'm Sachin.
Hey, Austin, you can be in the center. Check out one chair.
We need good harmony.
Yeah, okay, this is good.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am HP Nanda. I am the CEO for the Grundfos Water Utilities. I have the privilege of moderating the last session and the best session of the day because we have drinks right after this session. So we can really chill. I have the honor of introducing this esteemed panel. We have Mr. Han, the Vice President and Chief Growth Officer for K Water.
Thank you.
We have Sachin Boite, Director of Climate Resiliency at C40. And we have been having this wonderful lady at the center. She has been moderating the session since morning, Austin Alexander, the Vice President of Sustainability for Xylem. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So as we wrap up this day, so why not we start with some reflections? Maybe a couple of minutes from each one of you. What are some of the key takeaways for you from COP28 till today? Mr. Han, when do we start with
Yeah,
you?
okay. Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for the question. We have been discussing climate change and action through various presentations regarding measures for decarbonization in the water sector at COP28. In addition, 115 countries, including Korea, recognize the importance of the energy transition by tripling renewable energy capacity and also discuss about the energy transition in the session. With this COP28, we were all able to confirm that it is time to take immediate climate action. In this regard, as the Korea Representative Water Corporation, K-Water has participated in COP since 2021 to disseminate innovative water management technology, expanding international cooperation, ESG management, and the realization of RE100. I would like to stress the implementation of the national carbon neutral policy, such as carbon neutral roadmap and on tangible action plan accordingly. The remaining year until 2030 must be a time to make the commitment we made at COP28 into bold action. Sorry. The water sector needs to spare no effort to contribute to the achievement of the carbon neutrality in the water sector and for the sustainable water management. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Han. Sachin, what about your takeaways?
Thank you very much. Thanks for asking. So we're starting to hear what the outcomes of the COP are. Some of them, I have to say, are a little bit disappointing. But actually being here, gives me quite a lot of hope, because I think that there are still actors like yourselves that are still leading on delivering some of these commitments and developing technologies and really leading the way. And it's the same also, I think we look at action at the local level. Cities are also leading the way. Compared to nation states, cities are taking action faster and at a greater scale. And I'm here because I work for C40 Cities. C40 is a network of 96 mayors, and these are cities, they're the largest cities in the world, representing about a 12th of the world's population and a 4th of the world's GDP. So this is a big potential, and the big potential to address the impacts of climate change, but also the cause of climate change. So both the adaptation and mitigation. I lead on I work on the mitigation side as well as the adaptation side. Now, one of the key things that I think I see in terms of the potential is partnerships, and we have a long-standing partnership with Grundfos, and I think what I'd like to really call upon these partnerships to come and take the lead in cities, and I would say there's kind of two roles that the private sector particularly can play. One is to come and learn, to see what cities are doing, what challenges they're facing, what is the appropriate technology, what are the barriers to achieving this, all of the net zero goals. And the second one is to influence, and influence both in the kind of policy and legislation space, but also influence by bringing some innovations and technologies to this space. So I think there's a great potential, and one of the reasons we are here is that we, through the support of the Grundfos Foundation, we launched a Water Accelerator, Water Safe Cities Accelerator, which has one of its pathways is cities committing to net zero targets by decarbonizing the water system, and these are mayoral commitments that cities must deliver and report on year. So again, I think there's a need for cities and for local actors and for the private sector to show leadership on delivering climate action now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sachin. Austin?
Yeah. This day has gone fast. I think for me, two learnings I've had specifically from this day in the Water Pavilion. The first is, like so many of us in the room, it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of what we're working on. And for me, I work specifically on utilities quite a bit. And so I get into a narrow focus of water, wastewater, utilities. And through today's session and through the partnership with Grundfos, K-Water, and Agua, really taking the time to think bigger picture on the role water plays both in net zero, as Josh hosted a wonderful panel this morning on water's role in the energy sector decarbonization, but has also done great work on freshwater's role in other areas. So water's role in these other decarbonization efforts, as well as how we as a sector, whether technology providers or with cities working with utilities to better advance decarbonization within utilities. So I'm pretty excited about that, and also it was really helpful for me to take a moment out of the day-to-day and see the big picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Han, we have been discussing there are still a lot of challenges for carbon neutrality or net zero. So what are some of the challenges that you think lies ahead of us, and what are your opinions to overcome them?
In order to achieve the net zero in water sector, I believe that it is necessary to establish a strategy and plan with the perspective for responding to the climate crisis and conduct continuously monitoring to successfully carry them out. As Korean's representative water corporation, K-Water, has taken the lead in implementing the national carbon neutrality policy and has prepared a 2050 carbon neutrality strategy in the water sector to contribute to achieving the national determining contribution and net zero. Our goal is to reduce greenhouse gas by 7.8 million tons per year by 2050. To this end, we plan to implement net zero water management, expand renewable energy, such as floating photovoltaic, hydrothermal energy, and green hydrogen. Also, we plan to develop natural and ecologically based carbon sink. The water sector needs to spare no effort to contribute to the achievement of the carbon neutrality in the water sector and for the sustainable water management. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sachin, you said you have been, C40 has been the coalition of the 96 cities of the world. And we all feel cities play a vital role for the journey for net zero. And mayors, when you talk about leadership, setting the tone, leadership setting proactive ownership, the mayors of the cities play a vital role. So any thoughts, advice, suggestions, what can we do to shape the thinking of the mayors so that we can accelerate this journey much faster?
It's a very good question. And I think this is one of the purposes of our organization. So it's a very easy one to answer. But I think it's also a complex one to answer. But one of the things that mayors like to do is to copy other mayors. If something is working in one place, then they want to copy it, and we like that. We encourage that. We facilitate that, and we facilitate peer-to-peer exchange. I think there's also a great opportunity for other stakeholders to participate in that peer-to-peer exchange as well. So I think, and there's also a way to then influence the global dialogue, because some of these actions are not fully in control of cities to implement, because particularly on climate action, national adaptation plans are at the country level. Climate action plans are at country level. There's a need for cities to come together as well to influence the national agenda, to link the local action to national plans and NDCs. So there's a great potential for including the goal to net zero within those plans. The other thing is the capacity challenge. I think that's something to solve as well. But the important thing is that even then we have seen cities are delivering some of these things. They know what the solutions are. We just need to make sure that they are implementing the right solutions, that they're learning from each other, and that we can also influence them in creating the right regulations.
Thank you. If we could take a 10-second break, we have Julie, our fourth panelist. She is right here. So perfect timing.
Yay.
Perfect
Oh,
timing,
good.
Julie. Thank you. So, Julie, if I could go back to you, any reflections or takeaways from COP28 till now for you?
Yeah, sure. Today I've been running, session after session, but it's been a fruitful day. And I've been listening in to some of the sessions, and I've put down some notes. I remember you asking at the beginning of the day, are we in this together? And is net zero good enough? And then you also challenged us to consider climate resilience. So my thoughts are indeed net zero requires very high ambition. So the operational activities of these utilities extend from source to sea. So we're not just thinking of where they are. So really, they play a crucial role in addressing some of these interconnected challenges. So achieving net challenge, therefore, needs them to have sort of a holistic and a catchment-based approach. So, and then again, I'm seeing that we need to think of a two-pronged approach. We need to think of reducing the carbon emissions, and we also need to think of embracing the nature-based solutions. In this respect, I'm thinking of the sinks. So really, then there's need for a balance. So in my view, I'm seeing nature-based solutions. Today is Nature Day, so I have to bring in that. So I'm seeing nature-based solutions, and really, there are some out there which are ready to be deployed and at community level. And for me, I'm really thinking of wetlands. I work for Wetlands International, so I'm thinking of wetlands. So these are really at the heart of nature. And we really overlook them. Okay, sometimes we don't consider these water-related ecosystems, mangroves. I heard, I think, Amy mentioning mangroves this morning. Sometimes we don't consider them at all. Healthy wetlands actually store not only water, but they store huge amounts of carbon. So really, they are very useful, and they actually store 3 times more carbon than forests. So if we are to keep this 1.5 degrees within reach, we must urgently safeguard our water-related ecosystems, and our wetlands. Let me stop there. Those are my initial thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. By the way, Julie is our director in East Africa for Wetlands International. Thank you, Julie. I have a follow-up question. I know since morning we have been talking about net zero, and some of the comments you made about wetlands, restoration and conservation, we didn't have time to deep dive on those topics. If you had to advise the utilities around the world, how do they integrate the net zero thinking with wetlands restoration and conservation? what your advice would be?
I think for me, I said it in the beginning, they have to have a systems-based approach. So not thinking just where they're getting the water from, but also where it's going to. Where they're getting from, where it's going to. So to me, I'd advise them to actually look at the entire catchment and also of how what they're doing is affecting the catchment. So that would be my simple advice to them, without going into complications.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Austin, if I could have the last question, or maybe one last question to you, and then go back to a final question for everyone. So I know you have done a lot of work leading up to this day, curating this day with many other partners in crime. So I have two parts of this question. How do you feel as this day comes to a close, one, and what would be your thinking about how to keep this conversation going after we leave this place?
Well, I'm incredibly grateful for the partners in crime we met along the way. Grundfos, Agua, K-Water, and then, of course, the Seaweed team. And it was at sometimes demanding, sometimes frustrating, but an overall really good program to learn from each other in areas that I hadn't thought about, and perhaps I shared something that they hadn't thought about. And it was really nice to co-curate with partners, which I think is, Seaweed has done a very nice job in this pavilion to do that. For us, when we curated with somebody who's generally our competitor, Grundfos, and the topic of net zero for water, I think is so important that it goes beyond any of our day-to-day, any of our competition, to really come together on this topic. And so I was delighted to partner with Grundfos team and others. Something I take away from both the curation and the go forward here is very similar to what Julia just said, is taking a better systems approach in both my work, but in the work that we're all doing on this topic of net zero. It is very easy to get completely narrow-sided on a greenhouse gas reduction. Here is a greenhouse gas reduction, wherever it is in the system. But the implications are so much more nuanced across, especially when you're talking about the interface of greenhouse gas emissions and water. And for me, that's something I'm going to take away, I think, better educated than I was before from the day-to-day and from the partnership with the other curators.
Thank you. Thank you. If I have one last question to each one of you, just on yes or no, just yes and no answer. So it is 2050, and we are here in this room, and we are debating, have the water utilities around the world achieved net zero? Yes or no? Start. Where?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm yes.
Yes? Yes.
I hope so.
Definitely. These were conversations
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you, all the panelists. I really reflect upon ending with a comment that, Austin, you made. Something as an industry, water sector, we have to learn from the high-tech or IT sector. You think about when we buy a laptop, whether it is the Microsoft package with an Adobe PDF, with an antivirus, everything is loaded, and we get the laptop, we open it, we work. That makes our life much easier, isn't it? If we had to go and fetch ourselves after we buy the laptop from Dell or HP, go to the store for Microsoft for the package, for Adobe, how painful it would be. And many of those companies in the IT sector, they may be competitors, collaborators, partners, but they are much more expensive in thinking how to work together and keep the customers in the forefront of making their life easy. And we know the utilities around the world have a big, challenging job ahead of them. If we have to make their job easy, how to go to net zero, I think we can play that role. We can play that role of collaborating, coming together, breaking down the silos between us and seeing how can we enable them and advance them and make it successful. So I hope this is not the end. This is probably the beginning of our collaboration where going forward, we will see multiple stakeholders, collaborators, competitors, partners, all coming together and co-opting how do we really help the water industry achieve net zero. With that, thank you very much. Thanks for a wonderful day. And hopefully now is the time for our drinks. Thank you.